Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I'm Paul Clark and welcome to my studio. Now, what have I got for you lovely lot today? Well, it's something that I've had a lot of requests for recently, and that's a cityscape. Now, I've already done one a few months back, cityscape in the rain, but this one is going to be a cityscape at night. So, come and join me and we'll paint this step by step together. Right, so here's my photo reference, which is from Pixabay of a nighttime scene of Florence in Italy. But I've cropped it in quite close to make more of a feature of the figures and basically to simplify the scene. Okay, so for today's materials, my paper is some Bockingford cold press. It's £140, so it's on a block and won't need stretching, but any decent watercolour paper will do. And my colours for today, I have Cadmium Yellow, Cadmium Orange, Burnt Umber, Alizarin Crimson, Cerulean Blue and Payne's Grey. I've also got some white gouache and 3 brushes from my range, my 3/4 inch flat, number 12 and number 6 round. Okay, so here is the line drawing. It's a little bit complicated and there are some perspective issues to think about, so there is a line drawing to download from my website free of charge, link in the description below. Off we go, and with my mop completely saturating the whole sheet, then painting in with big bold bands of colour using my flat brush, keeping all the washes vertical. And this will give the whole painting a lovely golden feel, but I'm leaving that sense of light directly below the figures. So the Cadmium Yellow and Orange and the Burnt Umber are all the colours I'm using for this first base wash. Next, with a dry tissue, I'm dabbing out some little blobs of light. And here with a damp brush, just softening some of those highlights. So while the initial wash is still wet, I'm going in with some more colour. And again lifting out some more subtle highlights with my smaller number 6 brush. So make sure everything is dry, and then with some masking fluid I'm just going to mask out a few street lights, some signs and perhaps the roof and bonnet of the car. So next I'm painting in the second layer or glaze of these warm colour washes, making sure that they're still transparent enough to see the first layer through the wash. Now this burnt umber is a great warm shadow and detail colour on top of those yellows and oranges. Here, to pick up some texture from the paper, I'm dragging my brush across the surface to get this lovely dry brush effect. So here I'm just dabbing in a little cerulean blues to suggest a touch of artificial light, and it's also a great contrast colour with the yellow. Right, next for a small amount of detail, and I'm using my number 6 brush, and I'm working fairly quickly here, trying to paint as much as possible with one quick brush stroke. It's all about suggestive detail and trying to make things look unlaboured. Here I'm just dropping in a little Payne's grey into the burnt umber mix. So here with these brick details, it's important that you try and follow the lines of perspective. And here I'm just using some Cadmium Orange for these details. So you can see that I've lost some of the contrast between the two faces of these buildings. So I'm putting in a very light wash of burnt umber to create a soft shadow to throw these buildings back behind the ones on the left. A quick blast with the hairdryer. So now it's time to let this dry. So it's a perfect time for a short break. What about a glass of Italy's own Campari? Next, let's just remove all the masking fluid, and I'm just using a rubber eraser to do this. Next, number 6 brush again for some Payne's grey, and I'm going to attempt these cars. Now, they've never been a strong point for me. I never seem to quite get the shape right. Now, if you want to see someone paint cars really well, then check out Leron's channel. He paints some amazing vehicles. Now this one to me looks a bit like some sort of Audi. Now I always thought that they should have named one of their cars a Doody. Could have been fun. And here I'm just adding a little touch of orange reflection. Next, just building up the washes with these darker values. Now using some burnt umber again, quickly dragging my brush across the paper to get this dry brush effect for the cobbled road. And of course a little splattering texture. Now for these figures, just try and keep them as simple as possible. Avoid putting the heads too big. Now I have a video on adding figures into your landscape, link above if you're interested. So the angle of the shadow here is quite important because they're sort of fanning out from the bright light from the car headlights in front. So again, with these main figures, try not to put in too much unnecessary detail as they're almost in silhouette. So we'll give this guy a Cerulean Blue bobble hat. Perhaps he's a Lazio fan. Just a few more small details, nice and loose and wobbly. Final touches, and this is just a beige pastel pencil to suggest a few faces. And then finally some white gouache, nice and thick, straight from the tube. And I think it's these little highlights that really bring the painting together and add that extra sparkle. Just a simple squiggly thing here. Don't try and spell anything out in particular or it'll just draw your eye in too much. Now, does adding this white mean it stops being a pure watercolour? Possibly. Watercolour, mixed media, whatever you want to call it. Just go for whatever works. There we go, we're all done. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and you'll give it a go. And remember, as always, just make it your own. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to paint a masterpiece every time. Just enjoy the experience. It always shows in your work. So, please don't forget to do the usuals, like, subscribe if you haven't already, it is free. Leave a comment, I do read every single one, even though I can't always reply to them all. And of course I look forward to seeing you all again next time for another Watercolour Wednesday. Cheers now everyone.